The Predator movies are big on action and light on lore, which has led to tons of misconceptions about how these space hunters actually tick. Let's set the record straight. It's understandable to think of predators, aka Yautja, as some sort of noble warrior species, not too different from the Klingons in Star Trek. The main defense of that line of thinking is all the moments in the movies where they completely ignore people who can't defend themselves. For example, in Predator 2, the city hunter scans that weird candy kid, but lets him go after his scanner reveals that the boy's little machine gun is just a toy.
Take that, you scum-sucking dog!
And in the first movie, the Predator ignores Anna even though it had multiple opportunities to drag her away. So no, they don't waste time or ammo on defenseless prey. But that doesn't automatically make them honorable. Yautja are in it for the sport, plain and simple. In that sense, they have more in common with human big game hunters than Klingons.
Leave it! He didn't kill you because you weren't armed. No sport.
And like big game trophy hunters, they prefer to feel like they're being challenged or still gaming the system with their superior predator weapons, tech, and camouflage. Look at Prey as a perfect example of that. That Yautja is up against muskets and arrows, but still spends a majority of the movie cloaked. And that bear doesn't know what's happening. It's just confused that the air started attacking it. Not exactly the even playing field a so-called honorable warrior would use. All the Yautja in the Predator movies are pretty similar, and most people probably assume they're all males. Since we're dealing with an alien race, there's no reason to assume that they reproduce like Earthlings. Although in this case, they actually do. According to the expanded Yautja canon outlined in the Predator books, comics, and video games, there are indeed male and female predators, and they reproduce in a similar fashion, with the so-called spawnlings being born just like mammals are on Earth. The existence of female Yautja is explicitly mentioned in the 2020 game Predator Hunting Grounds by Dutch Schaefer.
We weren't certain if they had any gender to speak of, but that changed when we came into contact with the female.
He goes on to describe the female Yautja as smarter and deadlier than the others, and more ruthless. While female depictions are inconsistent in Predator lore, they do tend to be depicted with physical differences from the male Yautja, typically having smaller eyes and heads that are more narrow. There are other examples of female predators scattered across the comic books, but in the end, male or female, most of us can agree that they have one big thing in common.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Predator is a movie chock full of big guns and even bigger biceps. It's all macho soldiers, infinite ammo hacks, and glorified combat, so it's easy to see why it's often mistaken for pro-US military propaganda, especially since it came out toward the very tail end of the Cold War, just 2 years before the Berlin Wall fell. One cultural critic pointed to the end of the movie, where the Predator blows itself up with all its technology as a dog whistle for nuclear proliferation. And granted, it's more than possible that Predator inspired a military interest in a handful of kids who ran around their backyards having play wars. You know, this kid watched it.
Take that, you scum-sucking dog!
But the first film in the franchise is really more about the futility of war rather than a soft propaganda flick. It's true that Dutch embodies the spirit of an idealized soldier with his resilience in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
But his brother-in-arms have been wiped out by the end of the film, and he emerges not heroically but by the skin of his teeth, undermining any patriotic subtext. If anything, the film tells us that nobody wins in war. One of the wildest myths in Predator fandom is that a scene in the first film was so brutally graphic it had to be cut. The rumor revolves around the demise of Billy, the half-Native American, half-Italian tracker who's shown preparing to face off against the Predator by brandishing his machete. But when his final moment comes, it happens like this. Viewers are never given the opportunity to see his last valiant battle against the alien foe, and so the theory persisted that it was just too violent for theaters. But according to Lantom himself, they didn't film it and they never intended to. His death was always going to happen off-screen. There was, however, supposed to be a scene depicting his fate as a trophy of the Predator, but it was cut for the disappointing reason that they didn't have enough money to film it. The late actor went into detail about the original plan for his character during a 2013 interview with the website The Arnold Fans, saying, "What was supposed to happen was Arnold was supposed to find the spaceship and blow the spaceship where the Predator went back to regain life. where his life system was. But they blew the money for the spaceship, and you were going to see all of those trophies from all over the universe. There's no denying that Dutch is a good soldier in the first Predator film, but Arnie's size didn't actually give him much of an upper hand against the Jungle Hunter. On a casual watch, it's easy to paint Dutch's victory as a hardcore human soldier, outwitting a Yautja with his tactical and physical prowess. Realistically though, Dutch was totally outmatched in the fight, and the seemingly clever plan that led to his victory was nothing short of a huge Hail Mary. For starters, Dutch's plan to hide his body heat in mud came through sheer chance. The Predator had him on the run when he just accidentally happened to crawl up that muddy riverbank. If that section of the river had been covered by rocks, his spine would have been hanging in a trophy room in no time. But that stroke of luck brought Dutch the time he needed to mount his final offensive, beginning with a bonfire to lure the Yautja. Granted, it was a good plan. It starts off strong, and Dutch manages to disable the Predator's camouflage. But after that, he just keeps getting lucky breaks, like when the Predator decides to toy with him a while. It had multiple chances to finish the job, but just kept putting it off.
Kill me, I'm here! Kill me!
And then Dutch's final play to lure the Predator into a trap doesn't fool it at all. But luckily for Dutch, his foe still walks directly under the deadfall, which he then uses to crush the Hunter. Practically speaking, the Jungle Hunter basically defeated himself. Some fans have cited the fact that Lieutenant Mike Harrigan was able to defeat the City Hunter in Predator 2 as evidence that the second Yautja to be shown on the big screen is, well, kind of weak. In fact, there's a widespread belief that the Predators actually get weaker with each passing sequel. After all, the Jungle Hunter had waged a brutal war against Dutch and a full paramilitary team. So how could any Predator worth its salt be defeated by a city cop in his mid-40s? The truth is that the City Hunter's defeat is a death by 1,000 cuts scenario, with the alien warrior severely weakened by the time it gets to the showdown. As one Redditor said, "I never want to hear Pred got killed by a middle-aged cop when the fight was basically a Pred that was severely injured with a hand tied behind his back versus a cop with preparation and an arsenal of weapons." Like Dutch's victory in the first film, Harrigan's success was more to do with luck than his enemy not being up to the task of taking down a human. Somewhere in an alternate universe, there's a version of Predator featuring a goofy-looking monster straight from a B-movie, which is played by none other than Jean-Claude Van Damme. The original Predator suit, which was designed by makeup and prosthetics veteran Steve Johnson of Boss Film Creature Shop, is the stuff of legend.
And just sent it back to the studio saying, "You really don't want us to continue with this, do you?"
Execs wanted the Predator to have an ant-like head, backward-bending reptile legs, and elongated arms complete with 3-fingered hands. The problem was that no one had really factored in just how poorly this concept would fare on the muddy slopes of the Mexican jungle. When things didn't work out with the first design, which also included an all-red VFX-friendly cloth version specifically designed for the scenes in which the Predator uses his cloaking device, the original suit was scrapped, and Stan Winston's Creature Studio was brought in to start from scratch. The result was the iconic design that fans know and love. For decades, a rumor had circulated that Van Damme was fired from Predator for being too short. At just under 5 feet 10 inches tall, he isn't exactly a small man. These rumors likely stem from the fact that Van Damme was replaced with 7'2" actor Kevin Peter Hall, but by this point, the muscles from Brussels had already been let go. Accounts vary over the exact moment that Van Damme was fired, but most have one thing in common. He clashed with the filmmakers over the look of the alien and the fact that he wasn't allowed to kickbox.
He thought he could do his martial arts, he could fight Arnold Schwarzenegger. Impossible! Absolutely impossible.
According to special effects supervisor Joel Hynek, this led to a confrontation with producer Joel Silver. He told The Hollywood Reporter, Silver was telling him, "Look, the Predator is not a kickboxer." And Van Damme was like, "I must do that. That's how I see the Predator." And Joel said, "Well, you're fired. Get out of here." Other people who worked on the film have come forward with their own recollection of the moment Van Damme was canned. Second unit director and stunt coordinator Craig Baxley claims that Van Damme smashed the head of the original Predator outfit, which was worth $20,000 in frustration. Bill Duke, who played Mac, says Van Damme was fired because he couldn't stop passing out from the heat, which began to frustrate producers. Basically, there are at least 6 conflicting accounts of Van Damme's firing, so the exact truth will likely never be known. In 2019, Van Damme fed the Predator rumor mill by launching a new claim in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. He told the outlet that someone had been seriously injured on the set. According to Van Damme, the incident occurred when someone else was brought in to perform a stunt that he had refused to do. The Belgian martial artist said he was asked to perform a jump that he thought was too dangerous. He said, "When Joel asked me to jump, I knew it was going to be a bad one. I said, 'This is impossible, Joel. I think we're going to have a problem.'" According to Van Damme, his refusal to perform this particular stunt is what actually led to him getting his marching orders. But the way he remembers it, he was proven right.
The guy who did my stunt, something bad happened to him, and then they stopped the film and they did a new, more safe outfit.
This was strenuously denied by multiple people who worked on the film. As first assistant director Bo Marks said, "Nobody broke their f***ing leg." One thing to know about predators is that they're not really predators. It sounds confusing, but it's true. It's even pointed out directly by the biologist Casey Brackett, played by Olivia Munn in The Predator.
It hunts people for sport.
Technically, it's not a predator. It's like kind of a...
Thank you.
After all, while Predator is a great name for a movie about an alien who comes to Earth just to kill people, that doesn't mean it's technically accurate as a label for the creature. In the natural world, a predator is a creature that kills another organism for food. That last bit is important. Predators, as in actual Earth animals in nature, kill because they need to eat. In contrast to predators who appear in the sci-fi franchise of the same name, kill for sport or to prove their own prowess as hunters, something that appears to be highly valued in their culture. The predators don't eat their kills, they just skin them, hang them upside down, and sometimes remove their skulls and spines to wave around triumphantly. They don't want meat, they want trophies. By definition, they're not predators. That said, for the sake of clarity, we're still going to call them predators. If you haven't seen the Predator movies, or if you just haven't paid that much attention, it makes sense to believe that there's one primary predator throughout the franchise. After all, the titles for every film except one, 2010's Predators, are singular. There's a Predator, and in 2018 he was the Predator. Of course, none of that is true. The main predator, when there is one, dies in literally every movie. The title creature of 1987's Predator blows himself up with a self-destruct device after being grievously wounded by Dutch Schaefer, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. The urban hunter of Predator 2 is killed in battle with Mike Harrigan, played by Danny Glover. All of the predators in Predators are taken down by their intended prey, and the oversized, genetically hybridized creature at the center of the Predator is taken down by that movie's central characters as well. The thing about predators, of course, is that there are always more of them. Although their homeworld has never been depicted in a movie, we know it's out there somewhere. Furthermore, it's pretty clear at this point that hunting humans, presumably alongside other sentient creatures from around the galaxy, is a cherished tradition on their planet. So they're just going to keep doing it, no matter how many die trying. Particularly with the first and most beloved film in the series, some of the franchise's most iconic imagery comes from the Predator's point of view, showing Schwarzenegger and other cast members in bright colors that represent the intensity of their body heat as the creature hunts them through the dense jungle. This has led some viewers to mistakenly think that the predator species has actually evolved to see with thermal imaging. If you pay attention, however, it becomes pretty clear that this infrared imaging is technological and contained in the lenses of the predator's masks. In Predator 2, the extraterrestrial hunter has multiple vision modes he can switch between. And while we never see that happen in the original film, it's hard to deny that the otherworldly villain here must have other forms of vision as well. For example, how could he so easily avoid all the traps set for him by the commandos if all he can see is heat? Plus, in the fantastic scene where he first takes his mask off, we watch as his vision completely changes, with the infrared disappearing from sight. It's not just the predators who die and are replaced for every movie. Of the 6 Predator movies released to date, the 2 AVP movies, not a single installment features a returning human character from a previous movie. After more than 3 decades of that same formula, it starts to look like none of the movies are really connected at all. The 2 most recent installments in particular seem to bear the hallmarks of franchise reboots. Predators, spoiler alert, moves the action from Earth to an alien planet, while The Predator has a new military-based story and a title distinguished from the first movie only by the article The. Of course, this isn't the case for either sci-fi flick. Aside from the more complicated AVP installments, each Predator movie establishes that the previous films did indeed happen, even if the events have been classified so that most people don't know about them. In Predator 2, government agent Peter Keyes, played by Gary Busey, discusses the events of the first movie. In Predators, the characters of Isabel, played by Alice Braga, recognizes the predators from a description of the events of the original Predator. In The Predator, the events of the first 2 movies are discussed and further confirmed as real by the presence of Sean Keyes, the son of Peter Keyes from Predator 2, who's played by Gary Busey's actual son, Jake. Few sequels are as commonly maligned as Predator 2. It came in fourth at the box office on its opening weekend, was critically panned, and later installments in the franchise were celebrated for ignoring it. It's not a classic like its predecessor, and there's a good chance you haven't even seen it. If that's the case, go watch Predator 2 and decide for yourself, because it actually has a lot going for it. It's a clear and deliberate departure from the first movie, but that's a better choice than trying to duplicate the original. Predator had jungle action pretty well covered, so Predator 2 brought its titular alien hunter to the streets of downtown Los Angeles. What's more, it's a near-future Los Angeles, in which gangs rule the city, cops barely stand a chance, and everybody's guns still shoot bullets but they're weirdly big and chunky looking. The aforementioned Danny Glover is the hero, as different from Arnold Schwarzenegger as an action star could be. In fact, it's ultimately Glover's performance as a detective who simply won't quit no matter what he's up against that makes Predator 2 something of an underrated gem. As part of the gadget-filled techno-armor they prefer to wear when hunting humans, each Predator has a metal face mask that they generally don't lose until the final showdown, when it's time to give the heroes and the audience a good look at that creepy, mandibbled face. Because Predators show up to Earth wearing this mask and don't usually take it off until shortly before they die, a lot of people assume that the mask is what enables them to breathe in Earth's atmosphere. If you pay attention, however, that's clearly not the case. The first Predator does without a mask for a long time while fighting Dutch in the jungle, and he seems to breathe just fine. In Predator 2, the creature is seen breathing through another device after losing his mask, but we don't know exactly why. Maybe Los Angeles' famous smog is too much for him. This same movie establishes that Predators breathe the same air as humans, however, because Harrigan can breathe inside their spaceship, even when interacting with an unmasked extraterrestrial. The same thing is true of the alien planet in Predators. The humans can breathe there just fine, and so can the unmasked hunters. There's no doubt the mask provides copious tools to aid a predator's survival, starting with that famous thermal vision, but a breathing apparatus is not one of them.